All right, here we go. We're going to try to do a quick critique. Parts of the whole, challenge one. This is Scientific Illustration 2024. Don't take this critique as me being very super harsh. Don't take it personally. This is me trying to help improve your skills early on in the game before it'll cost you. So I'm going to be quite critical here. Okay, this one, bad composition, not utilizing the whole space, not an effective use of the negative space, not very good line work. You're doing glassware. If you're going to draw glassware, it's got to be perfect proportions. Not using Photoshop like rulers. There are Photoshop rulers you could use to make this perfect. There's sort of like an attempt at crosshatch, attempt at gray washing, and attempt at stipple, but not a commitment to either one. Overall, I don't even know what this is. So this is a very weak one. Okay, next one. This one, at least, okay, you're attempting sort of like a scientific composition that makes sense. It's a structural organization of a virus, but it's very messy. There's no attempt to organize the composition in an aesthetic way. The handwriting is extremely sloppy. You should just lay down a layer of text, make it weak opacity, and then trace over top. Okay, that's the way to do handwriting successfully. On the positive side, you've got a good sense that you're capturing detail, you're capturing the elements, the features of the composition are there. It could be a good composition. You're just not executing properly. Okay, next one. This is a good composition, simple, fine, good use of gray wash, good use of highlights, good use of darks, contrast. It's high contrast. It's fulfilling the requirements. It's good. The one thing I would say is it's you probably would do shadows. Shadows would probably make this raise to a much higher level composition. But otherwise, this is a pretty good one. This one, anytime somebody's going to try to do some geometric shape, like a plate, so here's a microbiological plate, it really bothers me when people don't spend the time to make a perfect circle. You can easily make a perfect circle in Photoshop. It doesn't make sense to me that you would hand draw something that is not a perfect circle. So that's really kind of like destroying the scientificness of this piece. Again, sloppy handwriting. Everybody's doing sloppy handwriting. You need to stop that. Contrast is good. Choices of gray are good. It's simple. Some of the features are good, but again, the handwriting and sort of the commitment to doing things well is a little bit lacking. All right, this one. The gray wash is good. So you've got a good sense, a good natural style for gray wash. It makes sense. I think shadows would go a long way to make this better. I think the writing is a little bit sloppy and the positioning, things could be positioned in a little bit more aesthetic way. So I think the composition is a little bit weak. There's a little bit too much negative space, not filling in the whole composition. But overall, this is a nice one. Satisfying the requirements of the assignment. Okay, lots of people here. Again, the problem here is very sloppy handwriting. The composition on this one is okay. I think the gloves are the weakest part. You've got somewhat of an effective sort of cartoonish glove box, but then the gloves are just really ineffective. You could have at least taken a few attempts at trying to draw those. I suspect you probably just took one attempt and you stuck with your first attempt, which is what I told people not to do. You should sketch, get something perfect, and then do lines over the sketch. I suspect you did not sketch out those gloves, and that's one of the main problems of this. Also, I think organization-wise, perhaps could have been moved around in a little bit better way to get a better symmetry, a better balance of all the white space, but overall satisfying the requirements. All right, this one describing zoonosis spillover. You got parts here from different universes. This is newbie mistake number one. You've got weird silhouettes of creatures, and then you're mixing them with like a cartoon virus and a cartoon human. I don't think that that's a good decision. The arrow, it's too thick. I don't like those arrows. I don't like hand-drawn arrows. There are ways to do perfect arrows in Photoshop. The handwriting is okay, but in general, again, you don't want to handwrite unless it's perfect. So again, people need to lay down the text, make the text a weak opacity, and trace over top the text. You also need to organize your composition more. Overall, though, it's pretty balanced. I mean, I feel like symmetry-wise, it's pretty good. But I am not digging the parts from a different universe. It's not meshing well. But overall, completing the idea of the assignment. All right, this one, I think this one was a real good start, but not done. These features here, here are done quite nicely. But I think overall, this one is just not complete. So I don't quite know what to say about a piece that's not completed. So here's an attempt at stipple eye. This one, too low contrast. This is a start of a high caliber scientific illustration, except for the fact that again, the text is disgusting. This text is disgusting. Again, I don't know why people are doing that. But it needs more contrast. You need more dots. So just a little bit more commitment and a little bit more, I mean, 2 minutes investment into the text would have made this much better piece. But it's a good start. I can see that you have some talent and you're just need to focus on mastering composition and effort in the details of all the entire composition, not just the pieces like the eye. Okay, this one, it's a good composition. It feels symmetrical. It feels even. This handwriting is very sloppy. I don't like the handwriting. Never like the handwriting. Unless you know how to do it real well. You got a good sense of crosshatch. It's an interesting style. I like that you're taking all the parts of the pipette out and illustrating them. I think that's interesting. I think you got a lot of talent and you got a lot of room to grow. So I'll be excited to see what you produce coming forward in the rest of the class. This one's just not much there, not a great compositional layout. You're not utilizing essentially 90% of the page, so not able to utilize the page. I think that's a weakness. You got good cross hatching, but just not enough detail. This gun could have been broken apart into many, many, many more pieces internally in the barrel, not necessarily in the barrel, but in the feed mechanism. There's lots of little pieces in there. So this could have been just much more elaborated. There's no shadows. Just not enough effort here. Here, I think this is more successful with the skeleton and the internal organs. So here's an attempt at different styles. They attempted the gray wash, attempted the stipple. I think the most successful piece here is the gray wash. So I think moving forward, I think you want to stick with this style. I think this one is a little bit less successful. This one much less successful. I really hate that this tail is breaking off. There's no reason that that needs to happen. In Photoshop, you could have shrunk this down, moved it a little bit to the left, and finished that tail. So composition, bad. Real terrible handwriting. Real ugly handwriting. No shadows. There was an attempt at shadows here, but this shadow is highly ineffective and ugly. Really, this is the most successful piece. I think you want to think about how you succeeded here and try to replicate that further and enhance that in future experiments and in future assignments. This one is a good composition, but it's not really satisfying the parts of a whole. You're not really taking apart the stethoscope. I don't know what this dot is, what this dot is, what these weird streaks in the background are. Not sure about those. This just seems real sloppy, these little things in the background. The highlights are good. The contrast is good. But overall, just a little bit of sloppiness that's completely detracting from the entire piece. This, I don't even know what this is or what's going on. Not a lot of work put in here. Maybe you spent 5 minutes on this. This, probably the best instantiation of this challenge, really sort of understanding the intent of the project or the challenge. Your handwriting is sloppy. That's the weakest part of this is your handwriting. There's no reason to have it at a slant. I don't understand why you don't go full scientific and do a very straight line with like a little text here and the text. That would have looked a lot nicer. Shading is good. Color choice is good. Contrast is good. You might have popped some shadows. Overall, this is one of the better ones. This one probably wins the weekly challenge. All right, that's it. Have a good day.